Hi everyone, welcome to part 3. Okay, Nikolic has just played f6, and one of the drawbacks of this move is that it leaves the e6 bishop undefended, meaning that black can't meet a move such as rook e1, which is what Carlsen played now, by castling long and continuing his plan of nestling his king in here on the queen side, because of course the bishop is simply dropping. But another of the good points of this move f6 is that he can now play king f7, although such a move requires either nerves of steel or great confidence with calculation, preferably both, in order to have his king on the square when there is so much firepower ready to be unleashed in the white position. Nikolic, of course, was playing a 14-year-old who wasn't, hugely famous at the time and may therefore have underestimated his talent. And Carlsen continued with b5, and his idea with b4, b5 is now proved to be more effective than it could have been if Nikolic chose to play differently. This move unmasks the superbly posted bishop on the a3 to f8 diagonal, which was Carlsen's main compensatory idea when he sacked the pawn in the opening. It also opens possibilities for the rook to develop from a4 along the fourth rank, which, it's good too. For now though, white remains slightly worse looking at the position with cold objectivity. After b5, Nikolic continued with knight a5, presumably aiming for a later knight c4, which is a nice outpost square for the knight. And sometimes in chess we feel that we must always press forwards. Of course, this is not always true. It was more prudent to play knight d8 and try and consolidate the position, remain the extra pawn up, and get the rest of the pieces into the game more slowly and put up with the pressure as best as possible. And as before in this position, black is slightly better no matter how white continues. There's nothing forced in a position through which white can claim any advantage. So, after knight a5, Carlsen played queen d1, bringing the queen back to the square that it started on. And of course there are some very strong ideas at work here, and it's an excellent move, the reasons for which you'll see shortly. White now has a very strong position, all thanks to black's one weak move with knight a5. And one of the great skills that's necessary to win in chess is the ability to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes, because one of the interesting things about the game is that you can't lose unless you make a mistake, and similarly you can't win unless your opponent makes a mistake, and noticing these mistakes therefore is vital. And it's something that Carlsen is especially good at. In a recent interview he said how he prides himself on punishing his opponents for any kind of slight mistake they make. And many great players throughout history have also exhibited this quality, and Carlsen is absolutely unforgiving. And queen d1 sets up a lot of fireworks that we'll see shortly. And to make matters worse, Nikolic now blundered with rook a e8, which is seemingly a logical move, defending the e6 bishop and bringing a rook to the open file. In truth, black's position was virtually undefendable at this point. If you want to try and find the superb move that Carlsen played here, the only move to gain a huge advantage, then please stop the video now. Knight g5 check, which Fritz gave a double exclamation mark in the analysis is the incredible continuation from Carlsen. It's often said of Capablanca that he was able to use tactics to win what had been positional games, and indeed it follows that if you outplay your opponent positionally, tactical shots will follow. And Carlsen plays in the same way. F takes g5 is forced. The only other move that black can play is king g8, which simply loses a piece to knight takes e6. So f takes g5. And now comes queen f3 check, the next move in the combination. And this was one of the many ideas made possible by moving the queen back to d1. And white's attack is now totally crushing. Black's response is forced with king g8, because the bishop is covering these dark squares. Only other legal move is queen f4, but then just rook takes f4. And now comes rook takes e6 from white, which is a very nice tactical shot. It's going to regain the piece with a completely winning game, and Nikolic actually resigned at this point on the 22nd move only, making the game a miniature. And he had perhaps realized for the first time that there is now no rook takes e6 because of queen f8 and mate, so he can't recapture, and the piece is regained after rook takes e6 with a completely winning attack. Black would have to play something else here. He's tied to defending the rook. Rook's attacked, rook takes e8 is threatened, so a queen move is best. Queen f7 or queen d7, it actually leads to the same continuation anyway. So let's say queen f7, but now comes rook takes e8 check, queen takes e8, and because the bishop is gone from e6, this d5 pawn, which was weakened in the opening, is now fatally weak. So queen takes d5 check, and the weakness of the isolated queen's pawn is exploited in decisive style here, and white finally gets back the sacrificed pawn, and he's going into a winning endgame due to a nasty sting in the tail of the combination. Queen f7 is forced, and after queen takes f7, king takes f7 comes the soul destroying bishop b4, and black is unable to either further defend this knight or move it to a safe square, and so he's dropping a piece, and this again refutes the knight a5 move itself, although Nikolic could hardly be blamed for not seeing this far ahead. And it also highlights the significance of the d5 pawn dropping, or there would be a knight c4 here. So what can black do? He may as well play knight c6, but after b takes c6, b takes c6. The win is, of course, simple. So it was a fantastic game from Carlsen. His talent as a young teenager was abundantly clear. We can have a quick replay with the threatened squares on, and we can watch it from Nikolic's point of view, just to see what it's like to face Carlsen, who we will see in chorus, which will start on Saturday lunchtime. And as always, there's a top level competition, and Carlsen will be hoping to push his record-breaking ELO even further than where he is now. He recently broke Kasparov's record, as I'm sure all of you know. So history is taking place. And yeah, this was a very nice game. Bishop a3 move is excellent purely because it traps the king in the center. It's played in one move, bishop a3, and it doesn't move from this square for the rest of the game. It's a very nice, accurate play from Carlsen, and undeveloping the queen back to d1 decisively. And now this attack is just totally crushing. Rook takes e6, and there's the final position. So as I said, a very nice game from Carlsen. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.